Hi, this is RGK and I'm showing you Nidhogg 2, the long-awaited sequel to the long-awaited Nidhogg 1. I played the first Nidhogg in tournaments. It kind of tainted the way I see the game, because at the end of the day it wasn't about dueling and fencing, it became about racing to the finish. Because the principle of Nidhogg is that you have one player on the left, one player on the right, and the left player has to reach the right hand side of the level, while the right player has to reach the left hand side of the level. You can only progress after you have killed the other player once. So this means that if the left player kills the right player, then the camera will keep panning to the right. But then if the defender, the right player, kills the left player, then suddenly the levels can shift to the left as the right player pushes forward. When anyone reaches their end, they get rewarded by being eaten by the giant worm Nidhogg. The way the combat works is that you have three stances: high, mid and low, and this is where you're gonna attack or parry. Additionally, you can throw your weapon, you can slide, or you can dive kick, so it opens up for a lot of different interactions. And it can be very tense when two people are facing, and for instance the attacker has to jump somewhere where the defender is, and what is gonna happen now? Maybe the defender is gonna wait, or maybe he's just gonna be reckless and go heads on. Maybe the attacker will start by throwing their sword and so on. It's really interesting to watch, and this game can easily draw crowds cheering for the players. So even if there are more than two people, it's fine. You can take turns. There is even a tournament mode that is included in the game. I think up to 8 or 10 players taking turns with eliminations. Going back to the core gameplay. So I was saying earlier that the problem with Nidhogg 1 was that people were just racing, and the second one fixed that in several ways. The first way is that whenever someone jumps or dive kicks and so on, there are some little pauses, and they are not big enough to block the flow of the game, but they still allow for like the defender to still have a bit more time to react, and the attacker is a bit slower to get back to running. Another issue with the first one was that the maps were divided into very small scenes, which meant that sometimes you only needed to win one fight before you could move on to the next screen, while this one has much longer scenes, so there is a lot more back and forth going on, and that's what actually fun about this sort of games is the back and forth. So this one is doing this much better than the first one, and because of these reasons I do think that this is a superior game. Then we have also new weapons. There is the old sword, or more like a rapier now, and there is a new claymore, like double-handed sword. I really love this one. It's very efficient at slashing people while they are jumping on this sort of things. It can disarm the other rapier quite easily, but it doesn't guard in the middle, which is something that another weapon can take advantage of, which is the bow and arrows, because this one can aim up, down and middle. So maybe you can take advantage of the distance to get the upper hand, but the problem with this weapon is that the arrows can be reflected just by guarding, which means that you end up having to avoid your own arrows. So I really don't like the bow. And then finally there is a knife, and the knife seems to have just shorter reach than the others, and I didn't really feel any advantage with this one. So I didn't really enjoy playing with the knife or the bow and arrow. But there are some good news, is that when you play a local game with your friends, you can just deactivate any weapon you don't want. And there are also some cool modifiers or mutators, or called cheats here, which can allow for low gravity, or it can allow to only be able to throw weapons and you cannot attack anymore in any other way, which can be quite fun when everyone is trying to kill the other one by throwing weapons and then having to get them back from the floor and so on. So this is really a good addition, although the problem is that this does not translate to online play. This is only available in local play. You can play single player in the arcade mode, which means that you're fighting increasingly stronger AIs on all the maps. There are several problems with that. One of them is that if you quit, like let's say you just go back to the menu, you lose your save. It's not too much of a big deal because you can finish in between, let's say, 15 minutes and 1 hour, but still a bit annoying. And then the other problem with single player is that you cannot just pick a map, pick a mutator and AI difficulty and just go for it. The only way to play against the AI is with arcade mode, and you don't have good control over how it plays. So there is only love for the local multiplayer here, everything else is not getting much love. And there is a much bigger problem with this, that so far the netcode for the online multiplayer is completely broken. The game feels like it's in slow motion. It's fine whenever someone dies, but then whenever there are 2 players, the netcode is awful. And that's a problem that the first Nidhogg had on release as well. So I don't know why they didn't plan it better this time. Maybe they're not really good with the netcode or something. But in any case, if you plan to play Nidhogg online, I would suggest holding off until they fix this, they patch it and it's all functional. Because for now it doesn't work really well. Some people really want this game just for local play, and that's where the heart of the game is. That's how it was designed. And some other players don't have their friends available nearby, or it just takes time in transport to go to each other's house. So sometimes it's just plain better to have online plays. Some of these local games do have it, some don't. Nidhogg has it, but for the moment it's broken, so you might want to wait. Let's talk about the art style. So when the game was announced, a lot of people were looking at screenshots and were saying that it's awful, but I disagree. Maybe it's because I'm seeing it in movement and it's much better, but I find this very unique, very grotesque and bizarre and weird, and the result is something gorgeous, I find. Maybe it's a mix between the visual and the very trippy music and so on, but it's mesmerizing. It's like a feast for the eyes, a very strange feast, okay, but I find that this is a very cool art style. One last thing I want to talk about is the level design. I mentioned earlier that there are longer screens, which is better, so there is more back and forth play, but something I'm missing is more hazardous dangers, traps and this sort of things. I say this because I play a lot of Eggnog Plus, which is hilarious. When you throw your sword, it can bounce back on the backgrounds, so you can accidentally kill yourself, which can be quite funny, especially if people are watching. And also, there are several traps in the level, such as bombs, proximity mines of some sort, or other kind of hazards, and it spices things up a lot. There are not many things like this in Nidhogg, but there is one map that has the sort of traps that I like. It's the airship. Well, first, the map is absolutely gorgeous. If you look in the background, you can see other airships going after the worms, sort of like whaling, and then there is a butchery, a slaughterhouse in the middle of the ship with bits of worms, and there are some conveyor belts that lead you right to meat crushers. And that is really cool. It adds a lot of tension to the fight, and it's hilarious if someone falls and so on. That's part of the fun of these games, also, to have like these random deaths. The thing with Nidhogg is the maps are designed in a much more subtle way than this. It's gonna be like one map with high grass, one map with a few more closed doors that can change a bit the dynamic of the fight, but not by much, just subtle. So I was kind of missing some of these events or traps that would make things a lot more exciting. So to conclude, I find that this Nidhogg is much better than the first game. There are a few annoyances, but they can be removed, except that you cannot remove them in online play, which is really a shame. But anyway, online play is completely broken at the moment, which is an even bigger shame, and I hope they fix that soon. But apart from that, the game is really cool and enjoyable, very good for competitive play between friends at home, and you can have lots of fun. not as funny as Eggnog Plus, which I still prefer. However, Nidhogg 2 made back its place in the games I really want to play with my friends and family. So yeah, I do recommend it for local play. Definitely a good game there. But for the rest, for single player and for online, yeah, not really. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye bye.